Laughter. So the individuals studied here are actually groups of people, specifically groups of people that were found in bars all over Europe before the pandemic and were found to be spontaneously laughing. What we record for each one of those groups is how many people were in the group. So it's the laughter group size, and it is quantitative, a discrete variable because there can only be a whole number of people inside a group. You should always make sure you understand what the graph shows, so pick one value on the graph. The first column sits at 2 on the horizontal axis and has the number 254 in the vertical axis at the top of it. That tells us that there were 254 groups that were groups of 2 people. And so we can see that then there were also 168 groups that were groups of 3, etc. So the graph represents a summary of this distribution, and we can see that it is clearly strongly right skewed, ranging from groups as small as just 2 people to groups as large as 6 people. So how do we find out the median laughter group size? Well, the median is the value carried by the 1 or 2 individuals in the middle of the sorted list. So here we have a list of 501 individuals, 501 laughing groups, which means that we get 250 groups, then group number 251, and then another 250 groups. So group number 251 sits in the middle of the sorted list. Now we don't have the raw data, but we have a summary that shows what was the number of people for each group. So that means that the first 254 groups, so group 1, group 2, group 3, 253, 254, they were all groups of 2, which means that the 251st group was a group of 2 people in that sorted list, and therefore the median group size is 2. Now notice that here, the median is actually also equal to the minimum, and that's because this distribution is extremely skewed. So how would we summarize the findings in context? Well, the group size of spontaneously laughing groups in bars all over Europe range from small groups of just 2 to larger groups of 6, with a median of 2. You could also compute the proportion. So 254 out of 501, that's roughly 51%. So a slight majority of groups were actually very small groups of just 2 people. Now, we are asked if, based on the findings displayed in this graph, we can conclude that smaller groups are more likely than larger groups to be spontaneously laughing in European bars. So what the graph shows is that of all the groups that were laughing, most of those groups were small. They were more likely to be small groups than to be large groups. Does that imply the reverse, that you're more likely to laugh if you're a small group than if you are a large group? Well, absolutely not. All the information we have is exclusively about laughing groups. So how would we know whether small groups are more likely to be laughing or not? We don't know the composition of non-laughing groups. So it's important to understand that the information we have does not in any way help us answer that last question.